Hi, and thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Energy, where we discuss all things energy on Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. I'm Shana Decker with Maui Electric, and today's hosts. Our state, as you may know, has set one of the most ambitious clean energy goals in the nation, 100% renewable energy by 2045. We're going to do this by aiming to cut our dependency on imported fossil fuel and ultimately reduce our overall carbon footprint that contributes to global warming. As part of these efforts, we're looking to accelerate plans on Molokai. And here talking with us about this today is Ellen Nashiwa and Mahina Martin. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so Ellen, tell us why Molokai and why could this be sooner than the rest of the state?
Sure, thanks. On Molokai, we have an opportunity to resolve system challenges that are already showing up with the high level of solar that it's installed or waiting to be installed on the system. As well as, just supporting the state's goal to reach 100% renewable. Solar is a big part of our future resource going forward and achieving 100% renewable energy, but it's a variable resource that's, not available at night when most of us use energy. So we're really looking to plan for ways that we can take advantage of this valuable resource. And Molokai is a smaller grid, so the investments we make on the grid have a bigger impact. And we can learn from those innovative solutions, technologies that can be provided and inform the other islands on their path to 100% renewable energy.
And so Molokai really is seeing challenges, ahead of the state when it comes to solar penetration. And I know that you guys are taking a different approach. Tell us a little bit more about that approach.
Sure. Well, when we were sitting down and deciding how to tackle this really aggressive goal, we thought to accelerate and to be as quick as we can to reach 100% renewable energy, we have to use multiple approaches, from community engagement to utility solutions, customer solutions, and also looking at alternate ways to finance these projects. So really involving the community in the planning process, because each island is different, and we want to make sure that what we move forward with aligns with goals for their community, as well as we know that we have challenges that I mentioned already that we're looking to resolve and provide the infrastructure necessary to accept any type of renewable resource and set up ourselves to be able to offer customers new options as well. And ultimately, technologies will cost money that we hope to be able to fund from external resources and external funding opportunities and foundations and federal grants and take advantage of those monies that are available.
So it's a very good, exciting endeavor that we're getting into Molokai 100% efforts. So a big part of that you mentioned was the community outreach part of that. So Mahina, can you tell us more about this community effort and what this looks like?
Sure. It's so important to be involved with the community that ends up with the results of any pilot project or any new initiative. So in this instance, we combine our expertise as a utility and went to the community and sought out their expertise and their lifestyle, their businesses, what their needs are, and what their future that they would like to see on their island. So we actually hosted many roundtable sessions. Our team was on island, and there were 13 roundtables, so over 150 people weighed in. And it was a tremendous effort with great participation. It gave us the perspectives that was very broad. And from that from all those events, from each of those roundtable sessions, we got over about 475 comments from the public. And we asked them, what advice would you give us from your experience on island, from your lifestyle, from what you want the next generation of Molokai kids to grow up with and live through? What would you want your local utility to know? And they weighed in, and it was really remarkable. And we went back at the ending part of last year and in the last quarter of last year, went there and shared the results. It was great to have them see each other's input, and also hear the combination of all of their responses. We'll be going back in March to share with them what our teams have found. We've spent several months recently putting together their input and ours, because we really feel that a combination of both our expertise and the public's expertise will bring out the best product. And while we're working towards a state goal of 100% renewable in 2045, and that could seem a really long way off, it's a process that's very involved. Not everyone likes to do that long process, but we really feel it'll work, and it'll work because it's both sides, the utility and the community coming together.
Right. It's really a back and forth. Sounds like a real grassroots movement.
Yes.
And I know that you guys also went out to the different parts of Molokai, so like Kilohana, Mauna Loa, as well as Kaunakakai, to kind of get that diverse range of feedback, because we know, every community is different.
Yes.
Was there common themes that you guys kind of picked up from the feedback from the groups when you initially went last year?
We heard a wide range of input, and some of the more interesting ones was obviously there is a curiosity and an interest to move towards more renewable energy. But one of the discoveries that we heard, and we suspected, but it was good to hear it in their voice, that renewable energy is valuable and important, but not at all cost. And cost may not simply be about the final bill impact. That, of course, is the highest concern that all of our customers would have. However, there was concerns about what impact would any renewable project have on the landscape, on the cultural resources,
right,
on environment, and all of those things are weighed into the options that we'll be returning to the community. We'll be going back in March for a series of meetings. That island, the communities are kind of spread out, and it's really an important initiative. So we'll be returning to the east and west sides of the island, as well as to central in Kaunakakai. We're having 3 community meetings, and we're bringing our team together, and we'll be sharing with them what those options are that we came up with. And we'd like them to understand how much research went into it, and for them to actually see that out of that whole process, we have identified some options that could potentially work really well for that island.
Right, right. And I know a really big part of that is, we're saying that in hopes that we can get to Molokai to 100% renewable energy maybe sooner than the rest of the state, before 2045. But, it really is looking at some of the interest groups of that island, right? So like the youth of the community, I know you guys have been meeting with them. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, 2045 is about 25, 28 years away from us today. So we're making decisions that are going to affect the kids that will be the adults in that day and age. So it was important for us in this process to sit down with the youth of Molokai. So we held 3 sessions. We had middle school as well as high school, public as well as charter. And we had the same session we held with the adults. We asked them the same questions. From what they see on Molokai, what they know in their perspective, what can they feel could work for that island? And their viewpoint was so interesting. It was very amazing to hear them articulate their knowledge of energy issues and tell us what they think the island could be, should be, and what they would like to envision and live in, right, on their home island. So that was great to take it to the youth of Molokai, get their input, and incorporate that as part of the bigger picture.
So it's so true with, thank you so much, Mahina and Ellen, today for joining us again, talking about the important efforts that we're getting to get Molokai to 100% renewables ahead of the rest of the state. So the youth of today really will be the leaders who hopefully come back to the islands and help us get to those goals that we have as a state. Right now we're going to take a look at one of those 100% renewable discussions that we had with the Molokai youth, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about the utility side solutions and customer options that we're working on to prepare the Molokai grid for more renewable energy. Thanks, and stick around.
For the amount to run our entire island, how much land or essentially if you make like
a lot of land. Sometimes the intensity from the solar panels, in some places they're put under the path of birds that fly, and they're really harmful to them. Because the technology is changing fast. If you were to replace it, where would the solar panel, the old solar panel?
Would you like us to know? I've constantly heard that birds are like going into them and getting killed.
Okay.
With the bigger wind turbines.
Okay. Birds with big wind turbines.
Okay, we're going to ask you.
The location.
The
Can
location.
I ask about the biomass? So that involves burning plant material, correct?
Biomass, yes.
So does that pollute the environment, or again, is that contained or filtered?
Do you think Molokai has enough rubbish? Enough trash?
Oh,
Yeah, big time.
What happened
We
here?
can't do that because like,
We know, isn't that like the leaves?
so we're gonna put this, but then we have
Oh,
no, we have
sorry.
our ocean, and we can't.
Hi, my name is Peyton Gillespie, and I just wanted to say thank you guys very much for doing this. It's awesome that you guys are the electric company and that you're willing to make that change. You want to make the change, and I think it's going to make a great difference for my generation and future generations, and it's just going to be really awesome. So thank you so much.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Energy, where we discuss all things energy on Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. Today we're talking about our work to achieve 100% renewable energy on Molokai that could possibly lead the way for the rest of our state. As a small island with a small electrical grid, there's work on the grid that needs to take place now in order for it to take on more renewables. So joining us to talk more about this is Chris Reynolds and Greg Kresge. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Sure.
So Chris, can you tell us more about how on the utility side, we're trying to prepare the electrical grid on Molokai to take on more renewables?
So we are making improvements on the grid currently. We're installing additional protection devices to ensure reliability on the distribution circuits. We've also installed a battery energy storage system, and we're looking at installing a load bank.
So these physical devices, what are they and what do they do and how do they help protect the system?
Well, the first ones are smart fault current indicators. Basically, they allow the plant operator to know where faults are located on the system so they can direct crews out to the site immediately. The other devices we're installing are, trade name is Trip Savers. They're basically devices that replace fuses. They're fast acting and they can actually reclose. So if a fault is temporary in nature, it will immediately re-energize the circuit, restoring power to customers.
So there's a more immediate response that we're able to detect if there's something interrupting the power on the actual lines.
Correct.
Okay, so are they actually installed on the lines or where exactly are they?
They're actually installed on the lines near the
Okay,
poles.
so people can see them and
They can see them.
that's very nice. So, you did also mention a battery, or BESS. What is that?
So basically, we have a battery system installed at the power plant. It's 2 megawatts in size, and it's really meant for short response to system disturbances. Right now, it's supporting frequency, so anytime it sees either over-generation or an under-generation event, it will charge and discharge appropriately, basically maintaining that reliability factor for our customers.
And it's because we're seeing, these challenges on Molokai ahead of the rest of the state. Is that kind of mitigating those challenges from whether it's solar on the grid during the day? What kind of frequency generations drops are we seeing?
Basically, we can see fluctuations from the distributed generation throughout the island. Plus, it also helps mitigate some of the existing problems, trees getting to lines, vehicle accidents. So it basically helps maintain and smooth the power system out.
And so batteries are the best system there on Molokai. It's through a partnership as well, right?
Yes, we partnered with the Hawaii Natural Energy Institute out of the University of Hawaii to purchase, install, and run the battery.
So we kind of share the funding for projects like that as part of the Molokai 100% efforts.
Yes, yes.
So that's very good progress, and people might not be able to physically see the devices or not recognize them, but they are being installed to prepare the grid for more renewables. What is this load bank also that you mentioned?
Basically, a load bank is a device used to convert energy into heat. So basically, when there's times of overgeneration through the distributed generation that's out on the system, or even through our own generators at Palau, it will actually take that energy, excess energy, that can't be stored in a battery system or any other way, and basically burn it off.
Okay.
Basically, this kind of is more of a protection system to protect the system from over-frequency events and provide stability for not only our generation, but the generation out on the distribution circuits.
So that's sort of would be maybe during the day if there's a lot of generation from the different resources like solar, then the load bank would kick in to take that excess energy?
That's a possibility. It could also happen in the evening too, when most of businesses and people have powered down their equipment, and we're running very few generation. If there's something goes wrong with the system, the load bank will be there as a backup.
And all of these are kind of innovative utility solutions, right? Because there's no book we can look all of this up and say, yes, you need a load bank, a BESS, and all of these solutions put together. We're kind of coming up with this as we work on the project.
Right. So as we're seeing these issues that come up on the Molokai system, we're actually going out there and trying to address them. The nice thing is the lessons we learn on Molokai can be applied to the other islands as well.
So that challenges that Molokai are seeing today, we think the rest of the state may be also seeing those as more renewables come onto the system. We have to prepare our grid with these new innovative solutions on the utility side.
Yes.
So, from that utility side, we're doing a lot of work and a lot of development as part of the Molokai 100% effort. So on the other side, we have the customer options. And so that's a really big factor as well. And, how we were talking about all of it coming together. What kind of customer options are we looking at, Greg?
Yeah, so like Ellen had mentioned previously, we have teamed up to get some additional funding and be able to do some really unique and innovative things. One of the things that we have put in place to allow some of the customers who have previously submitted applications to be able to move forward with those, but still in a controlled way so that we still have great reliability and safety, is what's called a connector collar. It's a it's a device that goes between the meter and the socket. So we have this as a collar device. What it does is it allows us to have communication with the inverter from the photovoltaic system on the person's house. And if we have excess energy at a specific time where it looks like we would be compromising the grid, we can then trigger the inverter to shut off so that we don't receive any more energy at that given moment. And we would only use that as a last resort because we don't want to be not taking the energy when we can get it. But there are those times in the middle of the day on Molokai, and this is where Molokai is kind of leading us with the way for the rest of the state, which is where we have those excess generation times where we have so much PV penetration that we do sometimes will need to curtail them. So anyway, it gives the customers an option. It gives us an option. We got those devices through some federal funding as well as through the Elemental Accelerator program, and so we've just attached those. We just installed the ones that we have most recently in November and December. We're looking to get some really good data from that and have that continue to be an option for those Molokai customers. The other thing too that we're piloting as well is a battery system. It's a battery system that we own, but it's at the customer's house. And what it allows them to do is it allows them to install the PV on their system. The PV generation in the middle of the day will actually go to the battery, and the load on the customer's house still kind of stays the same. So we don't see a loss of load when we need it the most. And the load is what the customer uses and draws from us. And that's a really important part of the balance and mix. When that load gets too low, then we start compromising the system. So and then in addition, we're trying to make some efforts on an electric vehicle front, which is trying to promote electric vehicle adoption and seeing if we can also create a little bit more load in the middle of the day, take some of that excess energy, which is a perfect mix with an electric vehicle, if you can charge that vehicle when you have the most renewable energy on the grid. So we're trying to do all of those efforts at the same time and work with customers to try to also help move forward the applications that are already in place for PV and be able to maybe handle some new ones as well.
Right, because it's really about giving more customer the choice, right? Because they, based on their feedback, we want to support solar. We want to do it in a way that the solar can work for the grid too, and at the same time fulfill what the customer wants.
Correct, and so Chris has mentioned and Ellen had mentioned, we're looking for innovative solutions to help us with that, because a lot of these are done under pilot programs that are not funded. Or they're kind of these new things that we're trying to try out, and Molokai is the place that we're doing them because we've got such a situation there where we're running at minimal,
we can apply,
generation.
Apply hopeful solutions that they can, move forward and get more renewables on their system. So, with pilot projects, that we're working on, pilots are not proven, they're in test phases. And so we're really seeing how that technology will work with our system and with the folks that have the pilots within their household. So I know there's some challenges or some hiccups that we've been facing. And this is what people, should recognize, because with every pilot we learn things, right? Mm-hmm. So with the recent ones, I know even cell connectivity plays a really big role. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so for example, the connector collar, as well as the eGear systems, they require us to have good cellular communication, because that's how we talk to those devices. And in the future, when we're talking about modernizing the grid, and that's any location throughout the state, when we're talking about grid modernization here, Oahu, Lanai, Molokai, it's important that we are able to talk to those devices and be able to get that feedback. On Molokai, though, the challenge is that the cell coverage is not necessarily the best, and so we have to try to find solutions to be able to allow those devices to still be installed, get them to get cellular communication. So we are working with, for example, on Molokai, it happens to be Verizon. We're working with them to try to work out those solutions, be able to get the cell coverage that we need, and be able to offer that solution to most customers.
Right.
But the challenge is, we're not there yet. We still have that to overcome. So that collar device right now, until we come up with that solution, isn't available to everybody unless they have good cell coverage.
Right. But it takes partnerships like that, right, with the cellular companies.
Yes,
and
it
working
does.
through, technology challenges that we may be facing.
Yeah.
But so partnerships like that really do play a key role. And I know you mentioned electric vehicles. So we are working, with the County of Maui on some really exciting stuff when it comes to electric vehicles.
Yeah. So we're installing a fast charger, a DC fast charger, which is on Maui, you would be able to see it around here through the Jump Smart program. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of fast chargers here that were promoted by that program. On Molokai, this would be the first one. It's slated to be installed in central Kaunakakai, and it's the only fast charger that's that will be available there right now, and we will own that as the utility, offering that solution. But we're also teaming up with the county to try to install some level 2 chargers. They're a little bit slower, but they will be participating as well. We're working with the county economic development department to help move that forward. We believe in that partnership because it's important that moving forward we all take a part in it. So
right, we can't get there all by ourselves. It's going to take everyone, even customers, business organizations, and a lot of community feedback, right? So community feedback, very important. They were interested in electric vehicles, and so it's very exciting. A lot of new stuff for 2018 for Molokai as part of the Molokai 100% efforts. Chris, Greg, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
A lot of exciting things for Molokai in 2018 as we work to get to 100% renewables for the island and possibly ahead of the rest of the state. Stay tuned as we want to introduce you to one of our linemen on Molokai, Roscoe Keola Young, in our segment, Getting to Know Miko.
Hi, my name is Roscoe Young. I'm a journeyman lineman on Molokai, and I've been working for Maui Electric for 17 years and 14 days. I'm born and raised on Molokai. I'm a child of the 70s, and things was just simple, fun-loving, easy, safe. A lot of emphasis from my parents to work hard and do a good job. I'm happily married to my high school sweetheart. We have 2 kids, life here is just simple. I really enjoy living on Molokai. Cannot see myself living anywhere else. My neighbor was a working foreman for Maui Electric, and I think that's what pretty much influenced me, is my neighbor and the intriguing thing working with high voltage electricity. My job is to do pretty much all the line work on Molokai, some meter reading, overhead and underground construction, pretty much anything to keep the lights on Molokai. I enjoy the adventure, but most of all I enjoy when the lights are out and we do repairs and we turn it back on. It's a very gratifying feeling. I'm Roscoe Young, and thank you for getting to know me.
Thanks again for tuning into Let's Talk Energy, where we took a look at how Molokai could lead the way, lead our state, when it comes to being powered by 100% renewable energy. Again, we'll be sharing possible paths on how we can get there at upcoming community meetings that we'll be hosting in Kilohana, Mauna Loa, and Kaunakakai this March. You can check more out on that at mauielectric.com for more information. And as always, we do want to hear from you. So if you have any energy-related questions or future topic ideas, you can drop us a line at letstalkenergy@mauielectric.com. This episode will repeat every Tuesday right here at 8 p.m. on Akaku Channel 55 with a new episode on the first Tuesday of every month. Thanks again, and we look forward to talking energy with you next time.